So one of our number back there wasn't as close as I thought he was. I could see them both in my rearview mirror. I was watching the guy behind me, and plan is he pushes the guy behind him, and I thought I could see them both. So I slowed down as I turned in so the guy behind me could see, and we both waited and waited, and we both saw him shoot past, which is interesting. Because he was the one navigating all the way here in the first place. He's the one who did the most work into navigating. Well, we made it safe and sound-ish. Well, two of us did. Right, let's get off the bike and see what we've let ourselves in for.
Yeah, so my plan was then, once we pulled into the bunkhouse, was to try and call this other guy, because I thought, well, if he's missed it and lost us, maybe we'll find him if we call him, because we all agreed if any of us get lost or left behind, we'd call each other. So the guy who was waiting for us, who was waving as I came down, he tried to call him, and he did get hold of him, and he actually said, I'll go out in the car and I'll look for him, because he could see me and the other guy were just completely drenched. Had we been on our own, we would have gone out and looked for him. So anyway, the other guy went, and I went inside, got changed, got showered, and that was just the best shower ever. A cold shower. It was just fantastic. Guy said, we've got a couple of beers in the fridge, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm up for that. So had the shower. When the guy got back after the shower, I got upstairs and I could see him, and I was really pleased to see him, and I said, hey, how you doing? And well, let's just say he wasn't in the best of moods. I mean, quite literally, he was very critical of what we'd done. When I'd walked in, he'd already been talking to the other guy, and it wasn't just constructive. He'd obviously had a rough ride, but he aimed it very personally, and he made it personal towards me. And as I said in the video, that's why I never wanted to lead. Not because I'm worried about taking responsibility, absolutely I will, but I kind of would have rather gone alone, I think, than taking all that burden. But nonetheless, I was happy to lead for a bit and happy to just do what people wanted me to do. But it was almost like it was my responsibility to be responsible for everything then, and that wasn't the plan. That never was. And I think had it been constructive, had it been just critical, I'd have probably gone, okay, fair enough, good learning exercise. But it wasn't. It was very, very personal. And it upset me. So that night, we went out for dinner. I didn't have the beer. After the shower and after that conversation, I didn't want a beer. I just didn't feel in the mood. And I was really low. I kind of hit that really low point. Then we went out for dinner, and I couldn't be me. I didn't want to talk. There was two guys I'd never met before. Seemed nice guys. The guy who'd organised it, really like him. He's a good friend. These two other guys that I like, but obviously one of them had taken a particularly personal stance on what had happened right at the end. So it kind of, there's resilience and there's kind of just ploughing on through, but I don't know. I think it was the heat, the long drive. I was in a strange place. I was with people I didn't know. And it was just not great. I wasn't in a good place really anyway. So I had dinner. I was fine. I had a Guinness and I had a beer. But when you just don't feel like you're you. Anyway, I ploughed through, tried my hardest, was reasonably conversational, but I know I was quiet because one of the guys I'd never met before said, you're very quiet. And I went to bed and I was just really low. I think people use the word sadness and then there's depressed. I think I was bordering on the latter because it wasn't a case of just feeling a bit sad. It wasn't a case of anger, because if I was angry I would have retaliated and I would have responded with what perhaps would have been a reasonable argument, but I just shut down. And it was, that thing where they say depression or being depressed is kind of like, if you separate those into two words, what you need is deep rest. So this is where I kind of move into my what I call the dark night of the soul, because I went to bed and I thought I'd just sleep it off. I'd already started to think, do I just want to go home? So I started to go to sleep, and I felt myself gradually and slowly go. But then I woke up. I just couldn't sleep. And I had to look outside the window, and there was some beautiful scenery. It might sound strange this, but the moon was rising. I didn't realise it was the moon at the time. I thought it might be lights from a town or something, but it wasn't. I watched it slowly rise, and it created these awesome shadows. I remember reading once that there is, the eye is drawn to light, but there's so much more interest in the shadows. And as I observed these scenes of the night, and I could just hear the animals, it was quite a magical night. I was very, very low. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to be involved in any other human company. But there was something just comforting in that deep rest. Now then I tried to get back to sleep again, and this is a bunkhouse, so all the rooms are pretty open. We've got a curtain between the rooms, but even that doesn't cover the door. It's just, in fact, we were supposed to be in a room together. It's only that we were empty, we were able to spread out. And I think one of the other guys could snore for England. I mean, wow. And I just couldn't sleep, so I'm awake again. And then I went on to Facebook. Now, this is kind of where some strange things happen in this dark night of the soul, because the guy who really introduced me into motorbiking was a father of a family who lived over the road to us. I've mentioned him in other videos, and I'd even told the guys about him because he used to go around France on his bike touring. I remember in the 70s and 80s, and I just used to be, wow, this guy's so cool. And I remember going to him one day, and only about 5-10 years ago, saying to him, do you remember when you used to go around Europe on your bike? And he said, I'm going again. And he was in his 70s, his late 70s, and he's going with some 30-somethings across Europe. And his wife, she's lovely, and she rolled her eyes, but such wonderful people. And I told the guys about this over lunch. And that night, his daughter had shared that morning he'd passed away. Now in that moment, that was really hard. It's even hard saying it now, because he's just always been there. We moved into my grandparents' house and I was 3, and he was the father figure over the road, and just such a lovely guy. And I would pop round randomly and I'd see him and his wife, and we'd meet, and it was just lovely. I was friends with the children when they were young. And so I was in this dark night of the soul, in my deep rest, recovery, enjoying my own company for a moment, thinking of returning home, and then I find out of somebody who's no longer with us. It really was a true dark night of the soul. And I'd pretty much decided that I was going to go home the next morning. But I didn't want to make anything of it. So what I did is I got up early, and I packed all my things. I had a wash and a shave. I don't know, there's something about shaving. When I let my beard grow, I grow a beard, but when I shave, there's some disciplines I don't like to let go of, so I made sure I had a shave, brushed my teeth, had a good wash. I loaded the bike, tied all my luggage down, cleared the flies off my helmet. The guys were gathered in the room, and I just didn't want to speak to them. I just couldn't bring myself in this depressed state. And by now it's about 7:30, about 7:30 in the morning. I've been up since about 5:30, 6. And it just happened that the guy who I would call a friend, who I know very well, he's lovely, he just said to me, oh Mark, hey, there's some coffee, do you want some coffee? And as I was in the kitchen cleaning my helmet, it was the last thing I needed, everything was already on the bike to go. He came out, I said, can I just have a quick word? He said, yeah, sure. And he came over, and I just gave him a hug, and he hugged me back. I said, I'm really sorry. I said, I just need to go. And he was really good, because I've got other things going on at the moment, in that my father-in-law's in hospital, and he was aware of that. He said, look, I don't want to say anything, if it's all right, I'll show about your father-in-law, because there was always this, I might need to leave. And by the way, I'm only mentioning this for good reason. Part 3 will reveal why. This is what I'm planting now. Sometimes it's not just how we feel, it's something moves us to be somewhere, and we need to be in a certain place at a certain time. And this was another coincidence. So I'd suffered at the hands of the day before, and you're probably, some of you are watching this are probably given up by now, but for those who are still watching it, you know that a lot of this is on me. This is how I'm handling it, not what's happened. And I take full responsibility, you know, absolutely, but I can't change that. I'm trying, but it's difficult. So anyway, I was going through the night, loss of the father-in-law, loss of but the friends over the road's father. My father-in-law's unwell. Gave Noel a hug, said I've got to go, and then I get back on the bike, and he totally understands. And at 7:45, I head off the path. I pull over just literally 25 yards up the road, just outside the house. I didn't want to say goodbye to anyone. If any of the guys are watching this, I'm sorry. I don't think any of them do watch my videos, but not this group. Others do, but not those. But I just needed to be alone. And I pulled over and I videoed. And I'm going to share some of that footage and why it was quite possibly one of the most beautiful rides I have enjoyed in my life. Because it wasn't just the scenery or the coolness of the early morning. That deep rest that I was desperate for, I found on the motorbike as I rode through those country roads that particular morning. So we're going to move on to part 3 now, which is my journey home.
Dear Mum and Dad, this isn't your fault.
But I've been doing it really tough for a good while now.
I'm sorry I can't be the father you want me to be.
You'll find another best friend.
It was no one's fault. No one caused it.
Please move on. That's all I want.
I love you. And I'm done.
I wrote this 6 years ago.
I wrote this 3 years ago.
I wrote this 4 years ago.
That was 15 years ago.